A very good evening to everyone out there in Super League world. Fifey live with you this wonderful Sunday evening. Hope you've all enjoyed your Jubilee weekend. And to celebrate, we have got the most platinum of all the champ squads ready to do battle. And a royal weekend means we needed a royalty in the commentary box. It looked like I was going to be flying solo, but an absolute hero, one of the royal characters of the whole community, has stepped up. All hail Lord Edwards. Good evening, sir.
Evening, mate. Yeah, nice to be here. Good to be on. We always enjoy it. Yeah. Hello, everybody.
Always a pleasure to have you with us. So we've had requests flying in left, right, etc. So I'll do my best to satisfy fixture wise. Obviously, with you here, sir, we're going to do Burn Fulchester, the certain score draw last. Jens wants to go early. Steve wants to go late. Dimble would prefer to be as late as possible with a view to hopefully seeing some. We must say congratulations to Grimsby on their promotion back to the Football League. Look forward to seeing Dimble once or twice next season. I can just see us having a nice away day in Grimsby one weekend. Congratulations to them. He's hoping to jump on and watch some of it. If not, he's let Deputy Stee make some changes for him where required. But before all that, Mr. Edwards, let's discuss the fact that you got your first win.
Yay, we did, and it was done with a reasonable amount of style, I guess. I mean, I felt for Scott a little bit. I mean, if you're going to face Scott and you're going to take two of his players out of the equation, two of those players you'd probably quite like to be Cafu and Z Roberto. So I'm well aware we weren't playing the strongest of Bostock teams, but you can only beat what's put in front of you. And we were absolutely dominant from start to finish. Didn't stop me being incredibly nervous because obviously no matter how you're doing in this league and no matter what's gone before, every game is just as important as the last, just as important as the next. So I was still physically shaking for 90 minutes. It wasn't pleasant, but yeah, I'll take it.
Well, you certainly live and breathe every moment of every Super League game. We all know and respect that, that's for sure. Evening, as I've already said to Duggan and current tabletopper Mr. Campbell, who played out a thrilling game last time out. We were looking sort of before we lifted the mics up and remembered down to 9 men and everything, and it was unreal, really. Absolute scenes from Haggis. What else we got? We got Evening Macca, who I can see there. Jens, Rob, Alf, Tato, and more congratulations, really. I suppose we should. Evening Swanee, and congratulations to Wales, who have qualified for the World Cup for the first time in about 750 years. So massive congratulations for them. Have to say, Hennessy in particular was very, very good today. I had the game on in the background while prepping tonight's episode, and he was in excellent form. So, but no, congratulations to Wales. It's nice to have another UK another British nation involved in the tournament, and it means I'm going to get to play them as well, which will always be entertaining. It went so well the last time. Let's get on with the action then, Ian. So ideally, we want to go to Loco v Halls first. Loco. Here we go. As you can see, Loco have everyone available. They have made a change in personnel, and that's also seen a change in tactics as well. Hasselbank's been promoted after excelling, as you can see in the reserves, with very mediocre performances. But he's been promoted nonetheless and goes straight into the team partnering Montella up front.
Wow, yeah. Ex-Burn, never got a sniff of the first team squad. For me, I think he was demoted at the earliest possibility. So it'll be interesting see how he gets on. I know a lot of people fancy Montella up there on his own, but with a bit of a foil, with a bit of a strong man up there. Yeah, be interesting to see.
Yeah, he got next to no action at Leddersford. He got absolutely no action at Burn and has seen no action at Loco. But here we go.
Yeah, he's destined to bang one in tonight, isn't he? This is particularly attacking from Greavesy, which kind of goes against what we were chatting off air about how I love the defensive narrative of the low cost squad and the low cost story. Yeah, it looks a little bit wrong, doesn't it, as far as Greaves is concerned, but very well balanced. Everyone, probably apart from maybe Del Vecchio, everyone where you would like to see them. So yeah, looking forward to this one.
And Macca asking, has Greaves cracked up? And Doug is saying JFH is a bit of a mad shout. Ian Campbell saying Greaves' head has gone. Let's have a look then at what Jens has done. He's also made a couple of alterations in the reserve swap week. He's adopted the who's fuck off tactic, claiming because he's 10th after 10 games, his season's over despite only being 1 point below the dotted line. But his season's been over since about game week 2. They go 3 up top. Crespo and Roberts have had decent starts to the campaign. Crespo 4 in 10, and where's CZ Roberts on this list? There he is. Roberts 4 in 9 starts, but he's brought up the signing that they made from Loco in pre-season. He has got 7 goals and an assist in 6 reserve games this season.
Yeah, I mean, it begs the question, doesn't it? When you've found 2 strikers who are doing well as a 2, surely the last thing you need is to stick a third tit in there, really, a spare part. I don't know. It doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't seem particularly necessary. And I think writing the season off, I know on the face of it and in public he's writing the season off. We know that Jens behind the scenes won't be writing the season off. And when you look at that back line, when you look at the fullbacks, two of the best fullbacks, one of the best partnerships in the league, fullback wise, he's got the players to do it. He maybe hasn't got the strength in depth at the moment, but yeah, I'm just not sure that 3 up top and the messing around so much is particularly necessary.
Okay, Duggan, just following up on your comment, me and Ian were actually talking before we lifted the mics, and I said similar to Ian's point about the narrative of Greavesy, everybody hates us, negative football, anti-football, etc. I laugh at just how much Jens hates his board. No matter what they say, they can say they're delighted with his performance, and he'll turn around and tell him to fuck off. It's hilarious how much Jens hates his board for no obvious reason. But let's go to kickoff, and I ask you for the first time tonight, Mr. Edwards, for a score prediction, please.
Well, I think the slightly attacking nature of Loco tonight might pay off, and I'm going to say a home win by 2 clear goals.
Home win by 2 clear goals. Evening Greavesy, your tactic has certainly caused a stir, shall we say. Let's kick off game week 1 as Mr. Edwards has suggested you will win by 2 clear goals. Jens doesn't care what anyone thinks, it's his club and nobody else's. Well, his club have been under some pressure early doors. A lot of pink and white, but they've weathered that particular storm and started. They want a penalty. Referee says no, so we know what's coming. Hall's never get a penalty. That's the next narrative to come out again. The FA are a shambles probably. And I believe Hasselbank's had 1 or 2 opportunities in amongst that text there. And his debut for Loco. Approaching half time, 10 minutes still to play in this half. Volley at goal. Loco ending the half strong. Cassano with an opportunity as well. 4 minutes to be added on. This is very attacking by Loco. They just can't seem to finish. There we go. It's half time. It's 0-0. Greasy going to win this 1-0, isn't he? Says Campbell. Local closed early, Tato. Madness. Paul's Pikings. Loads of chances for both here. Before clicking on the stats, it looks more loco to me, but
It
every
looked very
time there was
loco.
black and white text, it was the attacking names. I mean, as first halves in the Super League go, that's amazingly open. And am I making this up, or has Tato been feeding the rhetoric that loco don't have more than 6 chances in a game?
Yeah, I think I've heard him say that. I think he's probably not far off, and I think this is not only is this different for loco, like you say, it's different for the Super League. We normally look for a nice game to kick us off, don't we? To get to get us going, and usually we're looking at halftime stats, and it's like 1 shot on goal per side,
Yeah.
nothing on target, and we think why have we chose this one as a curtain raiser? But I mean, as far as 0-0s go, it's a belter.
Absolutely. Yes, Tato, Loco did take more than 6 shots. And Greasy's telling him to suck on his shots. And let's have a look at the home side. As we said, very attacking. Despite that, Hasselbank and Montella among the lowest rated players at halftime.
Yeah, and it's not like they've not been involved. I mean, they've both had attempts on goal. Hasselbank's had one on target, so he's threatening. It's not like they've all had like one pass or anything like that. I think yes, they might have had more touches from Klompe, perhaps, but everyone's getting involved to a certain extent. They're also getting Cassano on the ball behind the strikers. I mean, he does have options on the bench more so probably than Hools, so he could obviously turn to Scholes if he fancied it.
As we wait confirmation, then that is not a lot of players touching the ball for Halls, is it?
It's not, and it is players further back that are touching the ball, I guess, as well. I mean, Crespo's done nothing.
In fact, it's the man that you suggested perhaps didn't warrant his place in the team in terms of going to free up top to get him in. That's had 50% of their shots.
Yeah, 2 out of 2 on target. But with the goal a game in the reserves, he's obviously had to step up a level here, hasn't he? He's facing better defence, better goalie. He hasn't been able to stick those chances away. Big step up for the lad.
So no amends at half time by either side. I was actually going to suggest, Duggan, that the Hawks were deploying a long ball tactic as opposed to direct passing, because that's ridiculous. Just the one slight tactical change at half time for Loco with an arrow added to Cassano as we go towards 60. Van Bommel with the first chance of the second half. And there's Crespo, and again, both sides still in making chances here. I really don't know which way this is going to go. Halls are really in this at the minute.
Yeah.
Get those ratios everywhere in Nor. This ongoing banter with the P. Anyway, we've reached the hour mark, and as I say, I don't know which way this is going to go. Loco started the second half as quickly as they started the first, but Hall certainly played their way back in. I always find it interesting with Greasy that he never deploys a striker as such on the bench. Now, with this formation, I suppose it's not necessarily needed, as he's got Del Vecchio, Cassano, Montella, Hasselbank all starting. Scholes the only attacking option if he's looking to tweak it.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you got Montella there on a 6, but he's not the guy you're going to hook. Is he suffering because he's got a strike partner? I don't know.
Scholes, well, he is getting the hook.
Right.
Scholes coming on for Montella and swap with Cassano.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, certainly from the setup, it makes sense. You'd probably wanted to have shifted Hasselbank away from the top and bring Scholes on if you were going to leave Montella on.
As for Halls, they do have Mido on the bench as their main attacking threat, although Boateng is also an attacking midfielder.
Has come into the match though, hasn't he? I mean, I'd be tempted if I was Jens to possibly stay as is.
The only thing I would maybe consider would be to withdraw Davis for one of the more attack-minded midfielders with an arrow, possibly.
But then he did say in the chat earlier on, I don't care what anybody thinks, it's my club. So
yes, so us even debating it is purely to fill time until he's made the decision.
Is that yeah? But you're right. It's actually very difficult for him to hook one of the top three, isn't it? Because Pjanovic has looked dangerous, but he has failed to convert. Mido, we know, can come up with the odd little important moment in the Super League when he is used, although obviously it has been sparing.
Right, hang on. So we've got Botek for Davis, swap with Roberts. Really? Botek for Davis, swap with Roberts. Mido for Pian, swap with Crespo. So you're putting ZZ Roberts into midfield and Botek up front? No, that's not what he wants to do. Right,
Yeah, that's how I read it.
Right, okay. No, I think he's typed it wrong. So let's try that again. He's drunk. He's explained himself. He's drunk. Right, let's do this again. Botek for Davis, swap with Vogel.
Yeah.
That makes a lot more sense.
I'm drink, sorry.
Pogel, not Poggett. Oh my god, stop it. I'm drink, sorry. Right, okay. That's the changes we're going with. Mido and Botek are on. Half an hour to go. Do you dare even guess? Like I said, I don't know which way it's going. You said Hull's on top now. Can they?
Yeah, but I'll always stick with my original.
Van Bommel scores his first ever goal for Loco. Opens the score in 64 minutes. And we slow it down with this game still on a knife edge. Botek comes forward and now Mido. He shoots from distance. Parisi can't hold on to it, but gets it at the second attempt. Scholes now, but Candea takes control. And Crespo gets a free kick. Petit's booked. Vogel steps up, but Parisi saves it well. Into the final 10 minutes. Can Halls create a chance here? The contra, but Clombe goes rid of it. Now Crespo, he's knocked to the floor again. Malevsky picks the ball up. Ian Campbell not reacting well to that opening goal for Loco. 4 minutes to be added on. Have Hall's got one last chance in them? Lawson and Klompe. Hasselbank. Free kick given. Malevsky heads it clear. We're into those 4 minutes. And there is the final whistle. And Greaves, even when they're playing a more attacking mentality, Loco do what Loco do best and win a game 1-0. 22 attempts between the two sides in the opening game, Ian. And Loco, as I say, still managed to do it in their infamous style.
We've had a good opener, haven't we? And I think in this sort of like time of instability all over the world and everything going on, it's good to know that sometimes you can just rely on certain things. And Loco 1-0 just gives you that little bit of a comfort blanket, doesn't it?
It just recenters your aura in life, does it? Seeing Loco win 1-0.
It does. Even if they're throwing caution to the wind, and they've stepped up in the second half. There are loads of contributions from everybody. Klompe has absolutely bossed it.
He's dominated, hasn't he?
Peruzzi continues to say Fabian who. Fair play to him for that one. Hasselbank's done all right. Van Bommel, who was the lowest performer at half-time on his 6, has stepped up and got the winner. So, Greaves is going to be absolutely over the moon, isn't he?
Yeah, no, absolutely agree with that. Having a look at Halls as Jens is off to watch Norway beat Sweden. Enjoy the rest of your evening, pal. He says his subs cost him. It's an interesting one because it's a mix of the bang average to the actually quite decent. You look at the two wide men; they continue to be the best outlets for them. Costanzo continues his recent good form. Malevsky is never a letdown. The subs came on and had virtually no impact, particularly Mido, hardly involved at all. You look at ZZ Roberts. Not really his usual standard. Sol Campbell, certainly not his usual standard. Although perhaps a slightly harsh 6 for him, maybe?
Maybe. I mean, he's lost over half his tackles, I guess. That's possibly where that comes from.
Yeah.
I just felt that perhaps they'd done really well first 15 minutes in the second half to get a foothold in the game, and they looked strong. And I just think perhaps the changes didn't seem too necessary and possibly stop them in the tracks a little bit.
Well, congratulations, Greasy. Commiserations to Jens. As we move on to Dudley Hill versus Astor Athletic. Astor did make 2 changes from memory to the squad with the reserve swaps. Robbie Fowler promoted after his 2 goals in 5 reserve games so far this season. And Sally Hamadic also promoted. Neither you could say exactly thriving in the reserves, but have obviously come up as part of Alf's plans moving forward. Neither, though, feature in this game as they go unchanged from the win over Ledisford.
Yeah, he did mention that those fellas were long-term changes, didn't he? And I think every time you look at Alf's team, they seem to look, I don't know if it's just because of the results, but they seem to look stronger and stronger. Top players in most positions. I think a couple of people have mentioned over the past few weeks, you've got to give him credit for getting Emerson playing. Yep. I think as good as Rossini is, it would have been lovely to maybe see an Owen Fowler strike partnership. There would have been a little bit of a romantic kind of twist towards that. But yeah, Brown West, Ambrosini, everyone likes. It's good all over the pitch, isn't it? Maybe slightly weak in goal.
I mean, am I right? I think I'm right in saying that the 3 you've just said there, West, Brown, Ambrosini, is that not the Ledisford trio that he brought in?
Yes. Now you mention it, yeah. I think, was there possibly an argument to say that Echiog might have been a part of that triangle as well, perhaps? But yeah, I think that's really, really, really strong. And Sorin, decent as well in there.
He's had a very decent couple of outings so far this season.
Absolutely, yeah. I think to say 5th, they look strong. Great result last time out. I think.
Has Franca arguably been one of the surprises of the season so far? He's started every game this season. 4 goals, 4 assists.
Yeah, doing well. I mean, he's done all right in previous iterations, hasn't he? I think did Andreas have him at Valen? He did little bits there before he was offloaded, and
he's not getting anywhere near these numbers yet, though. I mean, his best scoring season was his first year at Astor with 5. He's already on 4. He's already surpassed his most assists.
Another one you've got to give Alf credit for. He doesn't always. Alf in the past has sometimes been criticised for his transfer business because he lets big names go, but he doesn't always just look at big names. Sometimes, and this is probably the scouts in him, he looks for the right guys to fill the right positions in an overall theme. So, and I mean, there's guys there on the bench and in the squad that haven't had a sniff that are still good players as well. So it bodes well for him.
Steve has also made a couple of changes. Oliveira's been promoted after a relatively good start to his reserve campaign, a goal and assist in 3 outings. The other player to be promoted was Mendonca, who's got 2 goals in 5 reserve games. He comes in and gets on the bench for a slightly tweaked Dudley Hill side in the Hill getting Astor blasted formation.
Well, I know he's bemoaned his lack of creativity and goals up top, hasn't he? And I know he's missed Roy Mackay, who's back.
Yeah, he's fit again. And Luca Toni started the last game on the bench. He's back in the starting lineup as well.
Yeah, and he seems to not be able to be too sure as to whether he wants Luca Toni up top on his own, whether he wants Luca Toni with a foil. Again, a great it's a great squad. It's a great team. I've been scarred in the past by having Abiati in goal and him being absolute dog shit. So I think he's possibly the weak link, especially with Pellizzoli on the bench.
Abiati's a keeper I quite like historically. I think he's got real potential in him to be a top goalkeeper. I agree. He's not necessarily shown it all the time in the Super League, but he never really he's not really had a chance at Dudley since moving. But I think he's a decent goalkeeper.
Yeah, I'd still take Pellizzoli over him, but yeah, I think he could do all right. I mean, he's got an underrated 3 at the back. Addo always does a job. Johnson, I don't know if he's got him on set pieces, can also do a job for the team. Especially when he's got company in that position, more than one guy alongside him, licensed to go forward.
Let me ask you a question just before we go to kickoff. This is the 3rd or 4th game. We'll go 5th. 5th game in a row that Dudley have changed their formation. Now, Steve put his championship win down to consistency. Mm-hmm. Have we seen a move back to Tinkerman Ranieri, Steve, for no obvious reason? Because it's not like they started the season poorly.
I think we have. And I think the reason might not be particularly secretive. I don't think he's made any bones about the fact that he wants to open things up a little bit after having been so consistent. I mean, I was kind of similar. I won it down to consistency and down to, being rigid with what you do.
Does everyone not win it due to consistency, though?
Well, kind of, but I mean, chopping and changing never really does seem to get you anywhere. But I think he's probably chopping and changing a little bit now because he's got the freedom to do so, having done what he set out to do in this league. I mentioned a couple of weeks back that, he was going quietly about his business. And since then, he does seem to have maybe just sort of tinkered a little bit more than we thought he might have done. But when you've got the squad to do it, then you can perhaps give it a go.
He's putting it down to boredom in the chat is the reason he's changing it up each time. Score prediction, please, for Dudley Hill versus Astor.
It's a draw. It's got draw written all over it, but is it 1-1 or is it 2-2? It's one of those.
Okay. Score draw is the prediction from Mr. Cocombs. Astor had the first chance or two of the game. Dudley now coming forward seemingly at will. Yellow card handed out. And then something like 15 minutes went by with nothing happening at all. Sorin with the last opportunity of the half. And unlike the last game, I mean, you'll probably think that you've missed something there, Ian. You haven't. It just went that quickly.
It did. I mean, if Steve was bored before the game, this isn't helping him, is it?
I think his plan here is it's his. We must say happy birthday, Steve.
Oh yes, happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Mr. Dudley Hill. He's obviously wanting this game over with to get back to his birthday celebrations, and he's trying to bore the crap out of everybody with a. I mean, if we're mocking his, then we have to look at Astor and think that's even worse from them.
Yeah, on one hand it is, but on the other hand, he is competing in as much as getting the tackles in, and he's not losing, so he won't panic. He won't be overly concerned.
Unsurprising then, as we look at the individual player stats, to see the front two for Dudley are the ones struggling. Arca not getting much joy out on the left either against Steve's favourite player, Steve Finnan, of course, on the right-hand side for Astor. Plenty of room for manoeuvre with Saviola and Mendonca on the bench. Can you see him reacting at half-time, or do you think he'll roll to 60?
I don't see any reason to change it at half-time. I mean, Saviola gives him an option either up top or in behind. I know he's brought Mendonca back in, but Mendonca is kind of, as much as he is one of Steve's absolute favourites, he's kind of flattered to deceive when he's had him in and around. And I think Steve has mentioned in the past that he's not sure whether he is totally good enough. So Saviola would be the man, but I would maybe wait till 60.
Michael Owen continues to struggle. I mean, I commented, I think Sol Campbell it was, I said perhaps got a harsh 6. I would say Michael Owen's got a very generous 7 there.
It is a generous 7, isn't it? I think they've spent a lot more time trying to tackle than they have trying to create. So if they can get something up to Owen, it's a case of if he gets that one chance, does he take it? Does he take that 7 up to an 8 or a 9?
Do you see Alf altering too much? Again, he's got some decent options in terms of Almanda and Luizao if he's looking to improve it from an attacking perspective. Sente is a proven Super League track record for being solid defensively if he wants to shore things up a little bit more.
For me, his best 11's on the pitch. I don't think that bench leaves you really anywhere to go.
Both managers playing on till 60. Steve's just said, we're talking about the ratings, and Steve's commented on his opposition side saying, Brown, my lord, 8 isn't fair. And I would suggest he has a point. If he's I mean, it's only his headers that he's not exactly thriving in. His passing and his tackling is really, really good. And Maka there saying, Astor a nuisance this season, glad to have played them early on.
Swan mentioning that Astor, second best record against the top 6. So, I mean, it shows that they've got something about them and they can dig in.
So we kicked off. 12 minutes went by with nothing happening at all. Then we got an opportunity, and then another 10 minutes went by. So we've stopped it on 66. You've literally missed nothing in me hitting kickoff while you finishing your point. This is one of the worst games of Super League I think I've ever had the privilege of overseeing. Let's see if the manager's going to mix things up. I think Roy Mackay might be a candidate to come off on his condition there. We may well see Mendonca. Might he be concerned about these 2 yellow cards here as well, considering the key positions they play in?
I mean, you've got Neville, haven't you? You could do Neville for Thuram. Bringing Ferdinand off would be a difficult one, but I think we could see Mendonca and Saviola, couldn't we?
We are seeing them both. Mendonca's coming on for Roy Mackay. Luca Toni's been withdrawn for Saviola, so a change in attacking ethos for Dudley there.
I'm surprised at Luca being brought off, in all honesty.
Alf saying this is where it goes wrong, late goals against. So let's see if he can react accordingly. Quite a few 6s dotted around for his players there, particularly ones you wouldn't expect. We mentioned Franca's good start to the season, Ambrosini as a key player, Liverani's normally a consistent player for them as well, all rating 6s at this juncture. Let's have a quick look at the fitness, which I know Alf is big on. Sorin, you mentioned what a big player he's proven to be the last couple of games, but he may well be a candidate to come off as well. He's got an able replacement there in Placente.
Yeah, I mean, Placente, not for the first time, has found himself in an Alf Bridge squad. You know, we know he's capable of doing a job for Alf. Whether it's fullback, whether he's put him, I think, centre back. I think he's played him at DM. Not necessarily always in the right place where people would normally put him, but I don't think he's ever let him down.
No, absolutely. While we wait for Alf to confirm what he'd like to do, it's a good time to note that we are approaching the halfway point in the season, and there will be an announcement on whether or not there will be a mid-season window this time next week, next Sunday's show, which will be game week 13, the halfway point. There will be an announcement on any mid-season window or not.
You can't say that and then next week say the announcement is that there's not going to be one. Come on.
I can do what I like. This is my last season running the Super League, and most people think I'm a bit of a prick by now anyway. So Luke have been spotted getting measured up for a kill. Placente for Sorin, and Luizao for Owen. So there we go. Both managers making changes, particularly in attack. I would normally slow it down at 70, so let's just keep it on fast at 66. See if this game can improve at all. We need a goal. I think if we get a goal, we'll get a couple because both teams will open up.
I was going to say the subs might open things up a little bit.
Thank you, Ian. That's very kind. Nobody thinks that five for you, regardless of you. No, they do. I know what I am, Steve, and I'm happy with that. Greaves has already done 5 deals regardless 5 fee. And at the same time, Rob's come in. Greaves is just shot up out of bed as he's subconsciously hits there might be a window. I'm glad the chat is entertaining because this game really isn't. Although Astor are looking most likely for late drama. Are we going to get limbs in the away end? Louis it's saved. Good Johnson clears now. Mendonca on the counter. Saviola, Harker picks up. Mendonca again. Now Addo. Mendonca again. Saviola. Mendonca's very busy since coming on the pitch. We move into injury time. Thank God that one's over.
Yeah.
I mean,
I did fancy a draw, but I did think both teams would score. Well.
Neither the two teams here combined have failed to have the amount of attempts that either of the previous two sides had in their game, which tells you everything you need to know. A very poor advert for the Super League all round, and a draw probably a fair result.
Absolutely. I think the best thing you can say about that game is that at least it's out of the way.
Yeah. Eric Addo picking up man of the match. I mean, it tells you everything when a player rating an 8 gets man of the match. Alf saying that's a good result, so I'm glad you're happy, Alf.
A holding midfielder getting an 8 as well, by the way. It's not an AMC with an assist or a striker with a deciding goal. It's a guy who's put 6 tackles in.
As for Astor, I mean, if you're looking at those ratings, Astor have kind of got away with one there because that's a lot of average 6s.
Yeah, but they've quietly just stifled Dudley Hill. I mean, if you're going away at the champions, you're nullifying the threat. I mean, it's job done, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, there's not much point in going over a lot of ground on this game. Let's just move on. Congratulate both sides on their point and move on to Leddersford versus Bostock Stanley. As you can see, Stanley's still without a number of players. Jacques has been recalled to the first team as his injury is due to end very soon. So he's back in amongst the first team ready. Say Roberto still unavailable, Cafu still unavailable. Obviously, we saw the goalkeeper got sent off against yourself on Thursday.
Yeah, but at least he's got Ashley Lythe back in contention, I think, who was missing, wasn't he, as well? So there are green shoots for Scott.
Yes, and also a return to a more familiar formation as well. Although Vieri and Torres playing as a front two, I think there's real potential as a partnership, but not one we normally see Scott deploy.
Yeah, I mean, throw Raul into the mix as well there, and that triangle up top. We know you've got that mix of youth and experience with Vieri and Torres. So Vieri hasn't quite done it for a lot of managers, has he? So, maybe
if you were to ask a lot of experienced champ players, that if over the course of 5 seasons, 5 seasons in a save, would Vieri end up playing for 4 different clubs? They would say no. You would generally keep him for the entirety of the 5 seasons.
Of course you would. I mean, apart from the fact that obviously he's high currency and you can make big trades for him. There is always that, that kind of lure of getting someone big in for someone like this. But yeah, you have to be in that position of him doing not a great deal for you. Now, in fairness to Rob actually got goals out of him. It was a goal every other game, which is nothing to be sniffed at in this league. But he's kind of nosedived a little bit since. Whether he's sometimes suffered from playing 3 up top, I don't know. Whether he hasn't got the right partner, I'm not so sure. I mean, he's still going to suffer tonight because he doesn't quite have he doesn't have Cafu and Z Roberto sort of, plying him with chances and crosses so much. I don't think Phil Neville perhaps offer the same.
Phil Neville's been recalled from the reserves alongside Jacques. His form's been relatively good in terms of ratings. He has got 1 assist in those 6 reserve games he's played, but he offers a bit of versatility, and with the amount of injuries and suspensions Scott's been picking up, he could end up being quite a crucial player.
He's going to probably have to be for a week or two, isn't he?
There was that year that he played 17 games.
And at least he's got, I mean, Scott, considering he has been weakened, he has decent-ish options on the bench. I mean, Robbie Keane can come in and do something. Gonzalez, decent.
Mm-hmm.
Prutton, probably at season 5, unlucky not to be in a starting lineup somewhere in Super League.
Yep. No, it's very true. I have offered Scott the opportunity to name his captain as he's joined the chat, but I've not had a reply yet. So we'll move on, and if he picks one in the meantime, we can go back and change it. Let's have a look at Leddersford, who are without on loan Sami Hyypiä, who's injured. Gallardo also injured. Was initially named in the starting 11 despite being injured. And another example of managers really paying attention to the packs that they get. But interesting selection choices with Mark Kerr in the squad, David Dunn. This doesn't look quite right. No, it must be. It must be right. I had a feeling Ronaldinho was to the right a little bit with an arrow. But no, this is definitely the tactic. Yes, the centre midfield partnership is the interesting choice here.
It absolutely is. I mean, I know he's mentioned in the past David Dunn absolutely fine. A lot of people would say should be nowhere near the Super League. Mark Kerr, I like Mark Kerr, and I know many consider him to be a myth. I think you can get good numbers out of Mark Kerr. Crikey, look at that 2 at DM though behind them. There's tackles in there, isn't there? If need.
Oh, they've worked very, very well.
What he has done here is he's got an excellent base for 2 world-class players and 2 very dangerous wide men to perhaps do something. Obviously wounded from last time out. He's obviously wanting to change something, and why not? No,
absolutely. Interesting as well that Vrede partners Perry, which I don't necessarily think. Obviously, Hyypiä had been the choice. I think Vrede perhaps a little bit unlucky not to be more of a first team regular. He had one really good. He had that on loan season with Tato at Astor where he was superb on loan to Colchester, and then hasn't had an opportunity yet. So I hope this might be the turning point of his season.
Absolutely, yeah, and obviously Perry. I mean, we all know what he's capable of, especially Steve, who sings his praises an awful lot, and he hasn't let him down this season. I don't know whether you noticed. Scott's just mentioned. I think he wants Welsh.
I've seen that. I'll go in and change that. But yes, you're right, and I can see Tato's also put Hyypiä was being dropped anyway. Vrede is the man now, so let's see how he does on his debut. While I change the captain to John Welsh, a score prediction, please.
Oh, I mean, I can't with that top 2 and those wide men. I can't look past Leddersford taking this. I'm going to say 3-1.
3-1. Interesting. Very quick start by Leddersford, but Van Nistelrooy was unable to score. Dunn and Kerr both getting involved very quickly. Raul with the first attempt for the away side. Torres getting involved now as well. Raul has another attempt. Stanley definitely played themselves back into this game after a bit of early pressure from the home side. Ronaldinho trying to create. Sylvester goes into the book just before the half-hour mark. Perry nearly best mentally strong defender on the game. Torres scores, but it's been disallowed just after half an hour. And then Van Nistelrooy opens scoring on 37 minutes for the home side.
Oh, it seems the way, doesn't it? When you have one disallowed,
the other team score within 3 or 4 minutes. A much more interesting first half. That, as we say, Stanley had a goal disallowed. Leddersford go into the break ahead, and they certainly started the quickest and ended the strongest.
Yeah, it was a decent half, quite even. Mm-hmm. I think Leddersford, as you can see there, they have slightly shaded it. You've got a feel for Scott, haven't you? I mean, like we mentioned earlier, sometimes things, and I know it myself from this season, things seem like they're just going against you, but it's how you sort of how you deal with those things, and it's injury on top of injury on top of disallowed goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough to take.
It's one of those things, like you say, different managers will have different perspectives. You said that you roll with the punches to me when we were discussing it before we lifted the mics. Other managers will say that the game engine's corrupt and it just doesn't want them to win. But you're right, you've got to feel for Scott. It just seems to be one thing after another. Both managers already saying same until 60. But one thing I did want to point out is look at that first half performance from Vrede, clearly coming in with a point to prove.
Animal, absolute animal, yeah.
Absolute beast debut.
That's of Clompe proportions tonight, that isn't it already?
Superb performances by. There's been a couple of centre backs who've put in excellent performances. Scott's already said go as is, but just a quick look at his stats. The two attackers struggling. Raoul's been involved, but not necessarily getting the numbers as you'd expect. Welsh, Decor, Live, proving to be relatively difficult to break down, but not necessarily the most creative midfield options. Let's roll on to the hour mark and see what happens. Leddersford still 1-0 up. Approaching that hour mark already. Vieri has an opportunity. And then time skips by. So we pause on 64. Again, fairly equal start to the second half, Ian.
Yeah, and there must be contributions there from Rayad because he's joined Vrede on a 9.
I've spotted that as well, yeah.
So yeah, they've. I mean, obviously we're not going to go into the ins and outs of the player stats, but things must have even slightly improved there for Leddersford as they get more of a grip on the game. I mean, I think Scott's very similar to me. I think he's more instinctive, and he maybe judges things by a feeling because that's not not the first time where he's said as is before he's even seen his stats at all. So yeah, I think he has a good feel for it. So be interesting to see what he does in the 60s now that he was always not going to make a change at half time.
We were talking earlier about continual narratives. What do you make of Tato's "the condition is a myth"?
Well, yeah, I go along with him. I mean, I pick my team. I pick my team for 90 minutes. As you know, I'm not one for making changes. I'm not gonna. If I go with 20 minutes to go and I've got a guy on a 60 or a 70, I'd rather him ride it out rather than having to rock the boat. I don't. I look at morale a little bit more than I would do at condition. I'm even more likely to leave a guy on a 6, leave him in just for the balance and just for not rocking the boat. No, I agree with Tate on condition.
Okay. Tato made one change. I'm not sure if you saw it. Lee Chan-so's come on for David Dunn, and he's just swapped places with Mark Kerr to get the forward arrow. I'll come back to Macca's comment in a minute, but Scott's already confirmed he's going to make a tweak. Let's see what he does. Vieri off for Gonzalez. Drop to left AMC. Torres lone striker, I think that's supposed to be. And then arrows on the AMs. So this is much more the traditional Bostock formation, and I always seem to say it, but Scott's one of those managers that definitely has his guys, and Gonzalez coming on is one of his guys, isn't it?
He is, and he's one of those managers where he makes changes, and I always look at that and think, yeah, I like that. I seem to whatever he seems to do, sub-wise, tactic-wise, mid-game, I always seem to end up thinking, yeah, that looks nice.
Sorry, Tato, you're wrong. Try taking Cork City to the UEFA Cup final. Your season lasts more days than Hulk Hogan worked in a year once, and everyone has 40%. Right, both managers have made their changes then. Let's see how they affect things. We've also got the tactical tweak for Bostock as well, which Leddersford will have to contend with. They are still 1 goal up though. Decor coming forward. Torres levels things up on 69 minutes.
Nice.
And we certainly have a game on now with 20 to go. Etsabaria, but Andre gets there. Now Decor comes forward again and Raoul holds it up. Free kick given. Zanoni plays it. Perry heads it clear. 15 minutes now to go. And Sylvester Gonzalez, still Gonzalez. Still Gonzalez, Taibi makes the save as we move towards the final 10 minutes. Phil Neville coming forward now. Gonzalez picks it up, strikes it in fury. And comment on Vrede's performance there in the text commentary as well. Lee Chun-so now as Ledesford come forward, but Live heads it clear and Dai picks it up. The court doing what he does. And Dai again is coming forward from defensive midfield. Free kick to the home side. Ronaldinho sends it in, but it's off the wall. And Raul Torres, Raul again, strays offside. Now Rayad Van Nistelrooy, corner kick to the home side. There could be late drama here. You feel both sides really trying to go for it. Yellow card for Neil Scally. We're into injury time. And it's Rayad. Still Rayad. And still Rayad Van Nistelrooy, and it's over the bar. He should have scored. He looks certain to score, and Van Nistelrooy heads it over to the bar.
Good game, lads.
And the game finishes 1-1. That slow speed is horrible, says Ian. Yeah, well, it builds up the tension. A very interesting game. Both sides certainly going for the win, it's fair to say. Van Nistelrooy missing the last attempt of the game, Ian. Credit to both sides, it has to be said.
Absolutely, toe-to-toe. An absolutely lovely palate cleanser after the last course of garbage that was offered up to us. Both teams trying to win it. Well done to Scott making that change. Torres getting the goal that he deserved after having the previous one disallowed. Either team could have won it towards the end. I think as much as Ledesford have shaded the stats, it kind of text-wise, and it felt almost like a fair result. Obviously, the numbers, and certainly average ratings will show as being Ledesford on top, which you can't argue with. Rayhead's turned that 9 into a 10. Fantastic stuff.
Vrede as well, keeping his 9 throughout the game.
Continues to get a tune out of Van Nistelrooy, which isn't always easy to do.
I'll just trying to find it. And there it is. There it was on 80 minutes as Bostock came forward. Gonzalez sent it wide, and then Vrede had done enough to put him off. Vrede was having an impressive debut for Ledesford. It was that good. They were actually discussing it in the text commentary.
Yeah, I think he might be there for the long haul.
Yeah, he's certainly proven a point there, hasn't he? Tato might finally have found a reason to get his man playing. Let's have a look then at the away side. And Duggan made a very good point in the chat, and I noticed it as well. Gonzalez, well, his name seemed to be in amongst everything, but there are very few passes attempted by him. Although he did end up having a couple of shots in while he was on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, he's had 25 minutes to try and make an impact. You'd have expected a little bit more contribution-wise. Managed to get a shot away. But, like we kind of suspected, the numbers were only going to be average compared to Ledesford's. But I felt a well-deserved draw. They were well in it. I mean, look at Decor's numbers, absolutely involved all over the shop, and 23 tackles attempted. We're in Jeremy's territory there. And you
59 is an unbelievable amount of attempted passes. 42 completed is impressive.
Absolutely. And you mentioned that he is one of these managers who has his guys. And I mean, he's had a keeper there who's had a 9. And, the love affair with Andre has been on and off since he brought him into the league for Chudley. Mm-hmm. And he's kind of only in tonight by default. But
it's interesting to see if he keeps his place on Thursday night now.
Exactly. Certainly hasn't let him down, though.
Well, and again, just as you say that, Tato's put Andre against me again. Lad gets a 9 every single time. Steve's kicking off about Rayed's 10, saying it's absolute bollocks. I mean, in fairness, he has completed only just over 50% of his passes, only won 25% of his tackles.
Yeah, I'd love to see that assist. That must have been some sort of special assist that he's made there, whatever that was, to get his 10, yeah. I think Decor might have been, as much as that's a great 10, I mean, Decor's 8 is shambles, isn't it?
I'm more impressed by Decor's 8 than Rayed's 10. Anyway, congratulations to both managers on a very entertaining game and both picking up a point. Plenty of positives for both there. We certainly don't want Burn Fulchester next. Shall we go to? Let's just go to the top of the list, shall we? And top of the list also sees us go to top of the table. We've got Haggis Hunters against Spartak Sloths. Sloths who had that very impressive, if not slightly fortuitous 3-0 win over the defending champions last time out. Scored with every shot on target. Valgaran picking up man of the match in that game.
Yeah, I think. I mean, first of all, congratulations to Odgie
more
as well.
Congratulations need handing out.
That'll be falling on deaf ears because he can't possibly be tuning at this tonight unless he's got something completely wrong with him. I think he's done actually quite well with his team, and he's made some good moves in the transfer market, and you know he's probably the position he is in the league, you know, points wise is reasonably impressive. He might still be languishing down there, but I think it kind of overshadows the good job that he's actually done. 9 points isn't that bad.
Yeah, if you consider the squad he took over to the squad he's got now, he's, with all due respect to yourself, he's 5 points clear of bottom, and before a ball was kicked tonight, 5 points away from the dotted line. That's not an awful position to be in. You know, he scored 16 goals, which is as many as a lot of the top clubs. He's conceded 18, which is the reason he's where he is, pretty much.
Well, I think that's an interesting way that he's gone about it. I mean, you know, if you are coming in with a slightly weaker squad than a lot of the teams you're going to come up against, I mean, he's called this tonight's loss tighter because he has generally tried to open games up a little bit more, and hence the 16 goals and whatnot. Now, this to me, he has gone tighter, and I'm not convinced it is the right move. I mean, it might be an okay move against a depleted Haggis side, perhaps that might pan out, but I'm not so sure.
Worth noting, this is the exact same team that did play the last game. It's not that he's changed it for this game. Yeah,
I just don't think that inviting better teams on over the course of a season is particularly gonna. You know, you're not going to score with every single shot on target every week. So yeah, is what I would say.
However, Pizarro does continue to be one of the joint leaders at the top of the scoring charts at this point for a team that are third bottom in the table. I was lauding the opportunity to see him really prove a point this year, and 6 goals and 4 assists in 10 games is incredible for a team struggling, in inverted commas.
Yeah, struggling points wise, struggling, but not necessarily, like I say, not struggling goals wise. They are reasonably open. Yeah, I mean, I'd love a 6 goals out of 10 striker myself. Yeah, it'd be great.
Let's have a look then at the tabletop. As you mentioned, they were depleted, so we know after their I think the use of the word heroics isn't an overstatement. You know, they played for essentially 70 minutes with 9 men against a very, very good Dragon side. They were under a considerable amount of pressure and come away with a 1-1 draw. They are without the suspended Samuel and Yeremies. Samba's still not fit. That's 2 massive blows for them, isn't it?
It is. I mean, as the manager who let Yeremies and Samuel both go to Haggis, I mean, if I didn't like Ian so much, I'd be filing that under things that you love to see. But but it will be, like I say, it will be interesting to. I mean, you know, mid-game you lose players. Sometimes, and I know Steve Wright's alluded to this in the past, and I think, you know, that's why I was always sort of trying to advocate like maybe changes for guys who've had players sent off against them. Sometimes teams can dig in against you when they're down to 10 men, not so much 9 men, but it's not so much the game that you get those players sent off in, it's the games they're suspended for afterwards that are sometimes the measure of how you deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
And you're taking away possibly your 2. arguably, apart from Giggs, you're taking away your two key players.
Yep.
So let's see how you react from minute zero.
Takanadi has been called up from the reserves as part of the switches this game week. I thought there was a second, but no one's jumping out at me, so maybe it was just the one. But he doesn't make the squad for this game. However, he has had an impressive run in the reserves, so we may well see him get a run of games. But then again, Jeremies will be back next time, so probably not. But we'll wait and see. Score prediction then for Haggis against Sloths, please.
I'm going to go another draw. I'm going to go 1-1, but it might still be 0-0 by the time I get back from the toilet.
As much as I enjoy having you on, people are going to complain if you keep predicting draws.
That's only 2 on the trot, innit? I'm sure I had Loco to win, and I have.
Get off that fence.
All right, then I'm going to go
to the loo and come back off the fence.
I'm going for a Haggis win. I'm going for a piss.
We kick this game off while the co-commentator departs, and it's Sloths who came out the traps quickest, but now Haggis starting to assert a bit of dominance, and they hit the woodwork, and Rosicki, and there's Casas with the goal on 22 minutes. Let's give the league leaders the lead, and they come forward looking for a second, but Pizarro, he fails to score and add to his impressive record. Del Piero misses a rebound. Lots of chances here, but time flying by quite quickly as well. Pulsating half of football this as we're into injury time. Can Sloths level it up? No is the answer there. So we reach half time. Haggis have had the better of it, although Sloths certainly look to be building ahead of steam, at least, if not creating as much as it might have looked. Class as indeed, Tater. It is the out of league signing for this season who opens the scoring in this game. Recurring theme is he doesn't seem to have an awful lot of touches. Everyone else around him does the work, and he just picks up the credits where they are due. And it's certainly due here in terms of opening the scores as we welcome back the Mr. Co-commentator for the evening. So Haggis are 1-0 up, Ian. Quickly look back on the stats for you. They have shaded it slightly.
Solid.
Sloths, whenever they have had the ball, they've looked quite dangerous. And it was Casas on 22 minutes that opened the scoring.
Yeah, he's having a good season for them, isn't he? It's been a really good acquisition for them, and I think they look, from those ratings, they look strong all round. I mean, they might have had an awful lot of touches up top, but certainly that touch has found the back of the net.
Absolutely. Ian going as is. As you've alluded to, Hodgie is certainly not here. So we'll just have a quick look. And you mentioned that tactically you weren't sure it was the right thing to do. That is very, very average.
Yeah, I mean, there's no real outlet. So, yeah, you're inviting them on, aren't you? And I think, if you're going to do that and you're not here to change it up either, you're relying on a kind of a slice of luck. I'm assuming he's not. He won't have asked anyone else to change on his behalf, will he? So he has to. It's no choice but to roll with it, which is a shame with that performance.
Let's move on towards 60 as Haggis come forward looking for a second. And as we hit, and it's Casas with his 5th of the season, makes it 2-0 as we hit the tactics break, and all is going exactly how Ian would have wanted, isn't it?
It is, as Tato mentions in the chat, class ass, very good. I think he's got Dan writing his material for him now, has he? I think.
You mentioned how crucial it was that 2 of their absolute key players, 2 of their top 3 players were missing. Yap Stam clearly saying, look, I am still here and I'm still a class act myself.
Yes, there's other guys have stood up, haven't they? I mean, I was probably a little bit glib when I said those 2 guys that are missing because they are ex-Burn guys, and I sort of regretted letting them go. I mean, you look at Mendieta; he's only on a 7, but I mean, he's still any one of the other 30 managers would still take Mendieta. We mentioned Giggs. We didn't mention Duff, who's obviously scored last week and is again, most managers would happily take.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great squad, which is why he's up there, and he's another one who's also been very consistent going about his business.
No, absolutely. Ian went as is, so we continue playing. Sloths have tried to be a bit of a nuisance here, but Haggis still looking like they're dominating. Possibly going to get a third before full time. Sloths, no, there's no additional goals there. Sloths continue to be a thorn in the side, but Haggis deserving of yet another 3 points. And what started for most, I think it's fair to say, as a little bit of a joke and a little bit of an ongoing narrative. I said to you before we lifted the mics up that the draw against Dragons last time out really made me believe that maybe things are aligning for Haggis. Yet another win, and you're starting to really believe as we approach halfway, could this be their year?
In the nicest possible way, I would compare Haggis' situation a little bit to ours in the year that we won it. If you hang around the Super League long enough and you make enough mistakes, and if you've got enough mistakes to learn from, and you the penny drops and you figure it out, that's a little bit of what it kind of smells like for me. I think this is time served. He's been there and thereabouts season 1. He's probably been a bit knee-jerk in the last couple of seasons, and now he's learned from some of the mistakes that he's made. He's just gone consistent, he's gone solid, and he's also got strikers scoring goals.
No, absolutely. And as you say with that, generally, he seems to have stuck with this Viduka, Del Piero, Casas trio, and generally at least one of them scores every game. It's not like he's relying on just one striker. Haggis look to be coasting to the league title, says Tato. Then they will bottle it. But very, very impressive. And it was the brace from the forward that got man of the match. Ratings did improve a little bit for Sloths. However, I spy Dietmar Harman getting a 4.
Wow. Yeah.
It's very rare we see outfield players getting 4s.
3 5s and a 4. I mean, if you're gonna invite the team onto you and you're not gonna stop them when they come, then you're just asking for trouble. I mean, it's 2 shots on target. If this was last week, Sloths get a draw because those 2 go in.
Mm-hmm.
But as I say, that's not going to happen every week. I think he needs to probably go back to opening it up a little bit more rather than just inviting the pressure. Yeah, what can you say? It's a bad day at the office, isn't
it? Steve instantly coming back saying, "How the fuck did that beat us?"
Well, we know how that beat us. Every time they touched the ball within a 30-yard radius of the goal, it flew in the back of the net.
Let's move on to Devils against Churchtown. Churchtown, who I've not seen Dimble, so they'll be under the eye of Deputy Stee. Sorochinsky still injured. Henri also unavailable. Sees a slight tactical tweak. Now, I used the word disgusting when we were flicking through the match stats before the mics went up. They won 1-0 with their only attempt of the game being on target. Now, that is the most un-Devils-like Devils performance, the most un-Rob-like Rob performance either of us can recall seeing. I mean, Halls were poor, don't get me wrong, but that is utter filth from Devils, completely against the fabric of both the club and the manager. So Rob's reacted to that by going 3 up top, Eto and Kesman either side of Mpenza. Deisler it is who's been dropped to the bench, with Aymar going into midfield with his forward diagonal run. I'm still not a fan of Dyer being here personally. He did, for anyone who missed the news, he's now broken the record for Devils. 115 league appearances under 3 different managers in this save. Congratulations to him. But I don't like him here personally. Montero and Nesta back in together after Ayala had played previously.
Yeah, a fantastic centre-back partnership for a start. Gives you a massive base for your talent up front to go and do what they do. Bags of assists in Aymar. Etu deserves a chance after coming in and getting that goal. So it'll be interesting to see how two players who can course through a game and do absolutely nothing and then just contribute something out of nowhere, either side of a genuine top striker. So there are goals there. They don't necessarily have to be massively in the game to get those goals because they are top players capable of doing top things. I mean, third in the league without particularly having been amazing.
No one's talking about them.
It shows that I mean, it could still go either way. They could continue to do not an awful lot and just coast along, but they could just click into gear and go from third to top in no time.
No, absolutely, completely agree. Let's have a look then at Churchtown, who currently sit ninth in the table. But again, in that cluster of teams that are just a point below the dotted line before a ball was kicked tonight. They make one change from the last game with Tomasi coming back in and Mield dropping to the bench. But Dimbor's certainly settled on this formation now. He was trying various things and was impressing last year by trying various things, but he seems settled on this. And the squad largely is quite settled now. We kind of know it's going to be Khan, Viali, Terry. It's generally Tomasi and Mendes de Silva when both fit. Zambrota and Volodenko are definitely the preferred wingers. Petrov generally is the centre midfielder. Hussein has cemented that striker spot as his own. And Agahau and Brujink are generally the danger men in behind him.
I think Agahau, there's a lot of managers in my time in the Super League that tried to get things out of Agahau, and I don't remember really anyone getting much out of him. But I think Dimble seems to have found something in him, doesn't he? Whether it's a case of just playing him regularly and him getting those bits or not. I think he might have expected to be slightly higher in the league. He finished last season like an absolute train, knocked us out of the playoffs.
Again, he's only a point below the playoffs now, though, isn't he? So
yeah, he is. But I would probably have expected him, especially with his. I think he was talked about as doing some really good business pre-season. So I would perhaps have half expected him to be a little bit, maybe a little bit higher up in that league. I mean, obviously, huge pressure on Stee tonight. The last time Dimble left someone in charge of doing his substitutions and tactics mid-game was last time I was on comms, and I do seem to remember earning a point with a big substitution towards the end of the game. So, bit to live up to for Stee Wright.
Well, if anyone can handle that particular pressure, it's certainly the defending champion. A score prediction, please, for Devils against Churchtown.
I can't see past a 2-1 home win.
Interesting, because I've actually got a sneaky feeling that Churchtown, I'm not sure if you spotted this, have an excellent record against Devils, and I expect them to maintain that tonight.
I don't notice a lot of stats and ins and outs like that, in all honesty.
Doug is saying, looking forward to Steve putting Churchtown one at the back. Absolutely nothing happens in the opening 10 minutes. And then Churchtown boss the next 10 minutes. Definitely the more threatening of the two teams. And it's a red card, and it's a massive red card for Paulo Montero. So does Andre Oya come on for one of those front three? Or does Rob continue this not caring attitude and go one at the back himself?
Yeah, I think you've got to sacrifice one of your top three, haven't you? I mean, that is, in one sense, that's the beauty of a top three. It does, it does enable you to bring one of them back if need be for whatever reason. I'm sure that Mpenza and Kesman up as a two could be just as effective if you bring a new year back.
Steve says Montero in red shocker. It's worth pointing out that, yes, that's his third red this season, and that's more than he'd had under both of the previous managers in the previous 4 seasons combined. Montero had this track record of having reds, and I pointed out that was a myth while I was in charge. Rob has just turned him into an absolute fucking animal this year for no reason.
if any manager is going to find a way of getting red cards all over the shop, it is Robin. I mean, that I guess that's why he would. Any team that Rob manages would be a lot of people's second team, because you're guaranteed goals in one net or another, and you're usually guaranteed red cards, action.
Steve, I hope you've had your thinking cap on, because obviously with a red card you're allowed to alter things tactically if you do wish. I imagine you'll keep it the same. Duggan's saying there's nothing quite like the kiss of death that Rob puts on himself when he predicts he's going to finish top. But yeah, Montero's red card record is pathetic this season. 3 red cards. He's averaging a red card every 2 games.
I think as well, historically, people probably look at the amount of games that he has missed or been suspended for, but back in the day, it was always an accumulation of just a yellow card for every game he played, wasn't it, pretty much?
Steve going as is. Duggan's trying to bait him into going one at the back as well, but he's having none of it. Churchtown continues to come forward. Can they take the lead with their man advantage now? They're having all of the attempts. Devils come forward once or twice. Petrov it is who opens the scoring for Churchtown. Will that open the floodgates? As Devils will continue to come forward. Interesting for those who know, Kudicini remains in goal for Devils. Rob's saying he couldn't drop him because he's just not conceding goals. Now he's conceded. I wonder if Frey will come in or whether Rob will stick with his man. Half time, and for fuck's sake, Rob, will you please do something about this? This is pathetic. You are embarrassing you're embarrassing what I brought in, what Hodgie improved, and you're making an absolute fucking shambles of this once great club. But Churchtown, on the other hand, are absolutely destroying them in superb fashion, and Dimble deserves a lot of credit.
He does. I mean, it reminds me of when he played us this season, and we were doing all right, and then he ended up with about 20 shots on goal against us, and they were absolutely frightening. And that's not even, you can't even say that the disparity there is purely down to the one man. I mean, that is just
pathetic.
Awful, woeful.
Steve saying as is without even seeing the Churchtown stats. Rob's even put Jesus Christ. And Alf said this has got all the hallmarks of a 1-0. How the fuck has this got all the hallmarks of a 1-0? Devils aren't coming forward. This has got, if Churchtown if they fuck this up for themselves by scoring an own goal, unbelievable.
I love that, the Islamic All-Stars, Jesus Christ, haha.
So now there's the reaction with Etu being subbed off at half-time for Andre Oya and reverting to a more sort of balanced formation. They're now losing and they make a defensive change. Do you understand the logic there?
I do, because you can't continue in the way that you were. You've got to give you that solid base to let the talented players do something. And he's certainly got one of the better benches of the night, so he's got those options.
And then the one player putting in a relatively good performance, he substitutes off to bring on an attacking player.
I think this is where, it could go one way or other. You point out Dyer in holding midfield is in the wrong position, but at least now you've got an attacking capable player in that position making strides forward. So there is a chance for that no shots on target, no shots at all, because you've got the personnel. Crikey's going for it, isn't he? Yeah.
Well, the thing is, this is why I'm not pressing OK, because I'm kind of reacting to what he's saying, but he's doing this thing where he sends one message with each individual bit, so I need him to confirm that everything I've done is what he wants.
He is piecemeal, and I'd hate to be in a WhatsApp group with him.
Oh, man. It's carnage. Rob, move Dyer up, for fuck's sake. Like that.
Oh, that could be party time for Agahauer.
Agahauer and Bruges suddenly have nobody marking them. I mean, respect to Rob that he's made the team look more attacking. Right, he says done. So
He's done.
arrows on. No, fuck off, Steve. I nearly did that then. Right, that's what we're going for. So we'll kick off the second half. Double change made. Let's see how that affects things. Nesta goes into the book. And Devils equalise through Dyer. Oh, it's been ruled off for offside.
Oh.
And Churchtown go at the other end, and it's Hussein who makes it 2-0 as we reach the tactical break. It was certainly better from Devils up to that point, but they have conceded again.
Yeah, and that disallowed goal is an absolute wounder, isn't it? It kind of shows that maybe it's not your night, no matter what you do. So whatever changes he does now could well be futile. I mean, your personnel options are Deisler, who, let's be honest, he's probably not a game changer at this stage of a match like this.
No, I mean, the only thing you'd maybe do is swap Dyer with Zauri and then bring Deisler on here, add arrows all over the shop to try and pull it back.
It's probably worth a go, isn't it? I'd be tempted myself to do that. I mean,
we've already seen other top six sides win tonight. You know, Devils don't want to fall behind, but he's actually going as is, leaving it to go. Steve, do you want to make any changes with Churchtown absolutely dominating?
He's got to leave that, hasn't he? There's no point.
As Ian throws.
Ian Campbell.
Nothing like rubbing salt into the proverbial wounds, as they say. No, Steve's happy to go all is, so we continue on. 2-0 to Churchtown, hour played. They're also a man up. But this is Devils. We've seen them do miraculous things before. Maybe this manager can still get it out of them.
This will be up there in miracles if he does.
73 now on the clock. Devils had created a little bit, but Churchtown still seem the more dominant. Agahawa missing another opportunity. Hussein missing an opportunity. Hussein missing another opportunity. Brujik now missing one as well. Finally, the final whistle comes. And Churchtown, for fuck's sake, Rob, that is a shambles. Even with look what Haggis did with 9 men against Dragons, and look what Devils have done with 10 men against Churchtown. Full credit to Dimble. I mean, that's a lot. That might be a concern compared to that. That is a dominant 2-0 as ever you will see.
That's what he did against us. He just absolutely bossed it. And I think that's a little bit of a worry for everyone else in the league, that as much as I said at the start of the match that Dimble might want to be higher
and
up.
There's Dimble. Dimble rocks up at full time.
Look at him trying to take all the credit for Steve's work.
No, he's put up the Steve.
Those two as-is from Steve were huge.
He's put up the Steve in the chat, and Ian said, "Amazing viewing. Would watch again." He's slightly erect. I mean, Nesta's got a 9 just for working very hard, but Kesman 5, Montero 5, so many 6s around as well. It's just so average. I mean, Cudicini's conceded 2 and still ended up one of the better players on the pitch.
I'm not sure I've ever seen a goalkeeper with that many passes in the Super League ever.
Cudicini plays sweeper keeper.
That is building from the back and then some, isn't it? If only 8 of them completed though. So I mean, I don't know what he's doing. I don't know. These numbers just don't make any sense.
Everyone in the chat is currently ripping into Devils, and it's Duggan that's drawn out the piss off Duggan comments. Rob's just letting Ian do whatever he likes and say whatever he likes, and Duggan says one thing and he gets a reaction. It's not even worth looking at that anymore. That's just Devils at their most abject. I mean, in the years when Devils were finishing bottom every year, they put in better performances than that. Let's have a look at. Hang on. fucking man of the match as well. I missed that. Churchtown, despite dominating, don't get man of the match award because Nesta had to work so hard, but just a solid, as we say so regularly, solid and complete team performance. Look at some of these passing figures: 52, 48. Got a load of the high 30s as well.
I mean, going by some of the ratings that we've had tonight, I mean, not that Dimble will give one shiny shit whatsoever.
No.
He's not got a single 9. I mean, that is just amazing. Tomasi's been huge there. He's gone in for 9 tackles. He's made 9 tackles. I mean, that's, if you look at you bring him back in for Mild, now he's back available. I mean, that's obviously a huge boon for your team. He's top player in that position. Hussein, he's done wonders there, getting Hussein in and getting him scoring. Like you said at the start, he's nailed down that position. He won't give a shit that they're all on 6, 7s and 8s. They absolutely bossed it.
So I've been trying as best I can to keep up with the chat, particularly the reaction to this game where everyone's decided to lump in. And I've just seen splattered in amongst all the other comments that I did see, Rob's, let's take a moment to appreciate Dimble's efforts.
Try and deflect it a little bit there.
I mean, there's deflecting and then there's fucking failing, isn't there? But massive performance, massive result for Churchtown. And,
on a serious note, 2 games for Devils there. 2 shots.
Oh, it's piss poor.
In 100, 2 shots in 180 minutes. I've never seen that, and I've managed some shit.
Me and you have managed some shit teams,
and I've never seen that, let alone with the best team.
I think the manager needs to start paying a bit more attention to what's going on, and dealing with it in a more professional manner. But there we go. That's just me from a neutral's perspective. I'm not currently sat here in my Devil's top with Penta on the back, absolutely livid at what I'm watching at the moment.
And that's obviously just me from rock bottom of the league, looking up at everybody.
I'm not sure if Duggan's laughing at our reaction or to Dimble's can't hear anything still on the bus, but suck that, Rob. But there we go. Where are we? Are we on the penultimate? We are on the penultimate game. Gazelles v Dragons, and there is I think it's fair to say, and the managers will possibly try and play it down, but there's a little bit of needle, a little bit of bad blood, a little bit of history in this fixture, isn't there, Ian?
Is there?
Yeah. I mean, obviously you've got Martin, when he was chairman, was a big Dragons fan. Then Duggan went to Gazelles. It didn't quite work out. He left of his own accord. Martin took over, criticised the squad he took over, said that the previous manager had not necessarily done him any favours with the squad that he'd taken over. Duggan then criticised what he did with the club he took over, and even in other conversations outside of match day, they don't always necessarily see eye to eye on most things.
No, yeah, I might have been sort of like questioning the needle, tongue-in-cheek, slightly. I can't imagine Martin ever getting on the wrong side of anyone or rubbing anyone up the wrong way. And I've met him, but he's a lovely lad. I won't have a bad word said about him. I think it's an interesting one. This, I think, it goes back to the days where Martin he was a big football monologue fan when Jamie originally had what came before the Dragon Destroyers, and I think Martin said that was the best team name, it was the best badge, it was the best colours, it was the best everything, and then obviously he took umbrage at becoming the Dragon Destroyers slightly a little bit, although he remained their most staunch fan. I think the interesting thing is, and I think this is why you look at it over the piece and over the course of the season, and you give Dragons the benefit of the doubt, that massively exciting transfer window that they had and those names that they've gathered together, and the fact that Riquelme can't even make the bench, and it's exciting and it's a great setup, and each
No, he
week.
was in the lineup for the last game. He's been dropped specifically.
Yeah, and each week that they don't quite hit the heights that they want, they go for it even more, and and now they've got the Paul on the right hand side contributing a lot, and it's you can see that there's something there for them, and if they can get Maxim firing even more, possibly protecting those, it's kind of, they look a little exposed at the back, ever so slightly in numbers, but who cares if you've got all these top guys going forward doing the business for you? So it's still exciting for them.
So let's talk about the team. Bowyer comes in for Raquelme. Veron goes into the attacking midfield position. Zidane gets a place on the bench, as does Morientes, who replaces... It would have been Carew last time that was on the bench. Squad-wise, they also made a couple of alterations, but they're not jumping out at me as to who they were. I want to say it was a defender off the top of my head, but I can't see who. Risp, possibly. It's the one that's come in. They definitely changed something, but it's not affected the first team as such. As you say, very, very strong-looking outfit. In a nice way, Martin and I, a good day of the football. Oh, no, Duggan's saying they didn't change anything. I thought they had. Let's have a look at the Gazelles team then, who have made a couple of alterations. We've got the Brazilian Australian forward. He's back in the first team at the expense of Forlan, who drops to the reserves. Also, who's on the left? Who is on the left? Zenden. Zenden, 4 assists in the reserves so far this season, sees him get back into the first team fold. He replaces Ian Hart. Both come into the team. Zenden starts with Garhen on the bench. Same formation, but a couple of players altered positionally. So we've got Hersey coming in to start this game. Seidas moving central. Zealeas, who was in that position, drops back to defensive midfield. Boateng dropped from the squad entirely.
It's kind of a little bit like what Sloths are trying to do in their position, isn't it? And I mean, you are packing the back end of that lineup. Anelka couldn't be more isolated if you tried, and you're asking a hell of a lot of Seedorf and Hersey to get anywhere near him. Home advantage maybe helps him slightly in this situation, and I know we were talking about Seedorf as having a decent start to the season, but he's fallen off and he's plateaued. There are good defensive players in there to possibly pull it off. And, Besedas as a defensive-minded player in the middle of that 3. I don't know. Asking a lot over 90 minutes against a massively talented team.
Although a massively talented team, not necessarily in the best of form. As we know, last time out they did draw with 9 men.
It's got to click at some point, hasn't it? It's like it's the Harlem Globetrotters of the Super League. It's about.
Is that not the pot calling the kettle black, calling Dragons the Harlem Globetrotters of the Super League?
It's just taken my my best player. He can't, come on.
A score prediction, please.
3-1 Dragons.
3-1 Dragons is the prediction. Let's see if you are correct. 1 minute on the clock, and the Gazelles really trying to assert themselves very early in this game. And they take the lead through Seedorf on 6 minutes. There's the one. So it could be interesting viewing for Duggan moving forward from this point. But Gazelles do take an early lead. Bowyer goes into the book. We're still only 12 minutes into the game. And Asamoah and a couple of gilt edge chances missed by the home side there. Still Gazelles coming forward. This was not necessarily in the script, unless, of course, you were Martin, who had this plan the whole way along. Sigalko levels things up with his 5th of the season on 33 minutes. Gazelles ruin the missed opportunities there. But they go ahead again, and it's Anelka on 39. Makes it 2-1 to the home side.
What's a
And
half for Gazelles?
what half in general? But yeah,
Wow.
Gazelles, absolutely superb first half performance. And you're right, although the formation might not be something you necessarily think would work in the Super League, there are certainly players capable of playing the positions that Martin's given them, and it seems to be working.
Yeah, I mean, fair points made all round here as well. I mean, I singled out Seedorf at the start, and Steve Wright's correctly saying a 7 average for Seedorf is decent. My point there kind of was that it was off the back of 2 sixes and poor morale, but, Martin's stuck with him. Obviously, he knows what he's doing. He's got a game plan, and he's 9 and a goal. So, superb.
Tato saying, where has that come from, Martin? Seedorf is next level. Stay out of my DMs. Just looking around, you say Anelka was going to struggle to get support, but all of the sort of attacking players, if you're looking at Seedorf and Hersey as the support players to Anelka, all three of them very much involved.
All very much involved. I mean, we've seen so many games tonight where there's been 3 or 4 guys at half time with low single figures. And apart from the goalkeeper there, which is what you want, everyone's had a touch. There's a lot of passes being made.
Martin going as is. Veron in the more advanced role seems to be struggling performance-wise thus far.
He's not found a place for Veron in the team yet, has he? That's like second or third time this season he's had a 5 at half time.
He is against obviously Zales and Smertin, who are a very accomplished duo. But looking around, it's not terrible, but David's not really being involved. Bo, you're not really being involved. Are they kind of bypassing that centre midfield and trying to push it too much?
Yeah, it's not terrible, but it's not great. I mean, it's hard to sort of say too much positive about them, apart from that he does have options on the bench and he has got places to shift it.
Right, so what Duggan means is do it a bit like this. He's drop Veron back to centre mid and then do Zidane for Bowyer. So I think he wants to keep the shape and do it like that, or does he mean make that a 5?
No, I think you've got that right.
We've got Tato and Ian saying Veron's got to be MC. I think this is correct. I think this is how he wants it. I'll just wait for Duggan's confirmation. Yeah, sorry, that wasn't clear. Yeah, no, that's fine. I thought that's what you wanted. I just wanted to check. So we got that change. Zidane coming on. I mean, maybe this could be his one performance of the season, but me and you both know Zidane's track record is less than stellar in the Super League.
Yeah, I mean, it's a throw of the dice, isn't it, when you're talking Zidane, because he can throw in the odd absolute amazing game, but over the course of a season, you ask him to do a job full time, then yeah, probably not.
Well, you said it was going to be 3-1, but you said it's going to be 3-1 to it's 4-1 to Gazelles. At the tactics break, Zenden scored on his debut, and who just Besadas? Just as it stopped for the tactics break, Besadas makes it 4-1. Unreal scenes from the Gazelles here.
Incredible stuff. I'm going to guess that Martin's going to go as is.
Doug could just say class in the chat. Yeah, well, you say that. He may well look at condition, but there's no one really struggling. Keeper having a stinker, says Tato. Fucking hell, says Ian Campbell. Again, we mentioned it, I mentioned it last time out, that Tato would not have been happy, particularly losing heavily to Asta. Duggan certainly will not be happy seeing this.
It's not the result, it's the nature of it, isn't it? And I don't know whether that trend of the stats at halftime will continue and whether it proves that, Gazelles have continued to have a lion's share of the game, or just that every shot they've had has gone in. But seems to be a level of dominance there, doesn't there?
Absolutely. Martin, as I say, says he's going to stick. Morientes is there. Do you think Duggan will do anything here to try and change things up? I mean, there's still 25 minutes plus injury time to play. He's got to try and pull it back, at least for pride, hasn't he?
Well, it's got to, Annie. I mean, the difficulty is when you've got Sigalko. Everyone likes Sigalko up top on his own, but Morientes massively underrated. He's scored a lot of goals for the likes of Hodgie in the Super League in his time. So you've got to sort of have him in there. He's got to be better than the likes of Zidane. Obviously, Zidane's got to stay on now. I don't know. The game's probably just about gone for them, though, hasn't it?
Well, he has made a tactical change. Veron off, Morientes on. He's gone with a front two. Let's see if that can have any effect at all. As Gazelles go looking for a fifth. We're into the final 10 minutes now. And it's still Gazelles looking the most likely. There's the final whistle, and it finishes Gazelles 4, Dragons 1. Someone else who will not be happy to see that result, of course, is you. Because I'd said to you that I had a sneaky suspicion by this time next week you wouldn't be bottom anymore. And you said, well, that only happens if Gazelles carry on a poor run of 4.
Yeah. To be honest, I mean, I don't necessarily think we will get the wooden spoon, but our season is so far gone that I'm not one for clutching at straws. I mean, I mentioned earlier on in the week in the chat group, we took people talking about bonus episodes, and I just think let's just have an episode every single night, get the season over with.
If I had
let's have 14 consecutive episodes right now.
If I had the time and the wherewithal to do an episode a night, Ian, I absolutely would.
I'll do 14 consecutive co-coms with you. How's that?
But as someone who also hosts a podcast once, if not twice a week, and has a child, I can't commit to an episode a night, I'm afraid. And at some point, I'd like not necessarily to be single anymore as well. So I've got to factor that into any decision making. Let's have a look at the Gazelle stats. And that's possibly the best performance we've seen from any Gazelle side. And yet Zayaleus still somehow manages to get a 6.
He was too busy on the cigar, wasn't he?
I mean, it's not like he hasn't contributed either.
He hasn't. He's done all right, hasn't he? I think it is. We've had a few strange ones tonight. People who should have had a couple of points higher, a couple of points lower. But I will point out as well, Martin's got a couple of 10s there, which
Okay, so yes,
it's backed up by 4 9s. I mean, that's this season. That's as good as it gets.
So I wanted to point this out as well. So Sador's been a man that everyone's been talking about. Okay, now he can do this. Look, 8, 6, 9, 6, 6. Now a 10. Okay, he's got a few contributions there, and he's added to them tonight. Martin is probably doing better with him quite clearly doing better with him than anybody else has managed. Okay, so credit where it's due. But can we just throw some credit on the name of Bolo Zenden, please, who's coming to make his debut? Got a 10 out of 10 rating and scored after impressing in the reserves. This is what we do the reserve swaps for.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't brought anybody up from the reserves this time round, which shows what I know, doesn't it? But it's an interesting one because a lot of the reserves that have been brought up and who've featured tonight or been on bench tonight, they've all been on like 8.8 averages, and they've scored 7 goals in 6 games. He's brought his boy up on a mid-7 average, and he's picked that one out. Not even from form. He's picked that one out because he wants him to do a certain job, and he's done a hell of a job.
Mm-hmm. And also, just for my own peace of mind, I also want to throw a little bit of respect at Big Tit, who's rated a 9 tonight. Solid performance from him as well.
But he's got to get that 6.6 up, hasn't he?
Let's have a look at Dragons then, and Shiotis rating dropped to a 5 by the end of it. I mean, Veron was abject, as we spoke about. There were a couple of decent performances. David certainly improved in that second half. The Polish lad on the right hand side was probably their best outlet. The thing is with this is it's not awful. It's just rank average when Gazelles have played out of their skin.
It's rank average when you're saying that your keeper has a 5, and then what some people regard to be the best player in the league has a 5. you can't really complain about the rest of the team. They've all done okay. Ehyog's made big tackles. Said's made some tackles, all low. I mean, I fancy Said, defensive midfielder, it's a centre back. You maybe want to protect him more, but he has won his headers. Sigalko, I mean, he is scoring, isn't he, Sigalko? But I mean, he's not going to score you. He's not going to score you 4 in a game. So you've got to. The team's got to. Yeah, the team's got to perform better than that.
Duggan mentions in the chat. He said played Martin, some performance that, another opportunity missed for us badly. Let's just. I mean, you highlighted Devils when they played and said 2 games, 2 shots on goal, not good enough. Let's just have a look at Dragons. So they've played against 9 men and drawn. They've played against second bottom and been absolutely annihilated. When you refer to them, you yourself refer to them as the Harlem Globetrotters of the Super League. That is not good enough.
Oh, it's nowhere near good enough. I mean, Duggan's going to be. I mean, it reminds me very much of myself. On the outside, you're saying the nice things. You're saying well done to the opposition and all that, and on the inside, you're absolutely livid. I mean, I was reasonably happy with my opening bunch of fixtures. I mean, before our last game, I had 3 games at home, which I quite fancied all of them, and I came away with 0 points. I mean, you can be, missed opportunities is the exact phrase that he's come out with. Is exactly right. He's come up against a 9. You can forgive that 9 because sometimes you can't do anything against a team that digs in when they've lost players. But yeah, you go away from home against a team that aren't in amazing form, that are at the wrong end of the league. It's another opportunity, but it's an opportunity to kickstart your season more than anything. And the problem you've got, which is what I've got now, you try to kickstart your season after 11 games. It's not easy.
And just to build on the narrative, I'm not suggesting there is anything in it at all, but just to build on my own narrative to keep the season interesting. Duggan, who lost, offered something of a congratulations to Martin. Martin, who won, has said nothing. We know he's been about, but hasn't offered any condolences or commiserations to Duggan, or even said good game.
He's the new Hodgie style ninja of the chat, isn't he? He's in for the game and he's out. I'm going to leave you to talk about this shower of shite while I go for another wee, and I'll come back to discuss the more interesting Fulchester side.
Let's do that. So Northern Burn, who, as I said, will not be happy to have seen Gazelles win so comfortably. Thanks, Ian. I'm glad you appreciated that. They are without Roy Keane, who, before we lifted the cameras up, the mics up, sorry, Ian said Roy Keane is the only player who's really stood up to anything this season, and he is suspended for this game. He said he would have been a bit more confident had Keane been available, because he knows that Fulchester are missing a few players, which we'll come on to shortly. But the team is unchanged from the other than Keane. Medina comes in for him to make his Burn debut. He had some appearances in the first team last year without actually making an appearance. Other than that, he's unchanged from the win last time out. He was mentioning strikers throughout the evening. Cliver has got 4 in 8 since signing. Not an awful record, but he just needs that bit of support. If you look at the likes of Robin, 10 starts, so started every game, no goal contributions yet. If we look at Brozek, the other one there, 7 starts, 2 sub-appearances, no goal contributions from him either. If we look at Totti, who we've praised Ian in the same way that we've praised Martin for the numbers getting out of Seedorf. We've praised Ian throughout the last couple of years for getting some significant numbers by comparison out of Totti. Not happening this season, and that is where the issues mainly stem from, in my opinion. My co-commentary partner is back, so before we head to kick off, let's have a look at Fulchester, who, as you can see, Ian, are without Quaresma injured, Comandini injured, Castillo injured but suspended. Now, two of those, as in Butt and Castillo, started the last game. Comandini's had he's played 50% of the games as well. So Macca's had a few decisions to make. Interestingly, Molina continues in goal. Buffon is available, but he's dropped to the bench, and Molina has been in decent form for his couple of games.
Yes, I know. It's been a long time coming, hasn't it? He's criticised Buffon for 5 seasons now and stuck with him and also give him the captaincy. But yeah, Molina's come in and he's done a job for him, and you can't really knock it. I think of the 4 guys that are missing, I think the only one he's bothered about really is Nicky, but he's got ample cover for the other 3 kind of average guys. And when you look at maybe the more defensive minded or the midfield minded players, I mean, you've got to say absolutely huge credit to Macca and probably to Ryan to a certain extent for the Aaron Winter regen coming in. Doesn't seem to matter what position he plays him in, whether he gives him an arrow, whether he doesn't give him an arrow. The guy's just absolute class. And he just fits into that kind of solid sort of system that he has. They might tweak 1 or 2 positions. Yeah, I think. I mean, if we can get at that back 3, then great. We might not. I mean, looking at how you pointed out Robin and Brozek's current form, we might not get anywhere near them.
Yes, I'm sorry about that, pal.
That's all right. I wonder how many people are going to be in his DMs after Buffon though at the minute, because I mean that is a huge call, but you can't argue with it.
Well, it will certainly be interesting. I've seen in the chat Macca saying to Ian that their title race could be reminiscent of Man United and Newcastle in the mid-90s. If you could keep it that interesting, lads, I'll be very happy, because certainly on the look of it, Rob is not going to be keeping pace, that is for sure. Let's move to kick off. Ian has taken his standing position behind his chair already. Macca's saying Burn win 3-1. Actually, before I do, Macca made an interesting point, which me and Ian were talking about. This is possibly the most drawn fixture in the Super League. Both sides with 2 wins apiece. The last 5 games have all been drawn. Only 1-0 in that lot. But only one team has won in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In the last 9 games, there's only been 1 victory. So certainly be interesting if either manager can end that run. So again, Ian's in position. I won't ask him for predictions, but good luck to you, sir. Good luck to Macca. Peroni in hand, piss held. Here we go as we kick off the main event of the evening, and it's Fulchester who have started the quickest. Cannavaro goes into the book. Yes, again, Fifey. On fire then. Am I? It's a penalty, and Nedved scores from the spot on 14 minutes. What did I say that was that good? 30 minutes now on the clock. Bern haven't really been able to play their way back into this. Medina goes into the book. Certainly the away side look the more dominant still. And a big chance there for Northern Bern. Doesn't go in. 4 minutes being added on at the end of this half. Burner ending the half fairly strong. Fulchester definitely need a second goal. Figo, Ronaldo, Gattuso now trying to come forward. And we reach half time. You're right, Ian. It is all Fulchester, and that's shown by the chance creation. Ian suggested before kickoff that Robin and Brozek, etc., are out of form and they might struggle to get anywhere near. They have struggled, just 1 attempt. Fulchester have had 5 with 3 on target. Welcome back to your seat, Ian. I will go to Fulchester first, just because Macca obviously hasn't got the live feed like you have. What did you make of that first half? You look to be quite dominated for the most part.
Battered, weren't we? Can't get anywhere near them. I think we had one reasonable chance, didn't we? Which was lovely football by Northern Bern, and that was all she wrote for 45 minutes. Not good enough.
Macca saying Molina is Spanish for wall. Well, the wall is hardly being shot at. tonight so far. The fact that it is still only 1-0 and you did end the half relatively strong, does that give you a bit of confidence that you can maybe shake things up, tweak it a little bit in the second half?
Not really. I mean, they've not done an awful lot, have they, apart from control the game. You look at the numbers and we're sort of in it. It just doesn't feel like we're doing anything, unfortunately. But I will go with a change.
Okay.
Can I change Guerrero for Medina?
Guerrero for Medina, yep.
Can I put Guerrero in for Robin?
Yep.
Can I swap Robin and Totti?
You can. Anything further?
No.
No? Okay.
Thank you.
So, in response to Macca's Molina is Spanish for wall, Ian's put Casas is Spanish for champions. Macca going.
It's these early boasts from Ian. That's the only thing that worries me. His team's doing so well, but he's been talking this for such a long time. And I mean, let's not forget there's champions and there's champions. I mean, no one remembers who finishes top of the league. I mean, the year I won it, I don't know who finished top of the league that year.
We kick off the second half, go towards 60. Fulchester again starting the quickest, but here come Northern Burn looking to equalise from a set piece maybe. Oh, chance missed. There's 50 now on the clock. Fulchester again coming forward with more regularity than their host. Oh, that's a bit early. Sorry, I will resume quickly. Burn still... Oh, fuck's sake, that was always going to happen.
That's all right. You know what, fan, I have loads of clicking.
So 65 on the clock then, Ian. You're still 1-0 down. Would you like to make any further alterations?
No, thank you, mate. I'll trust in Clivert.
In Clivert you trust. As for you, Macca, Macca sent you a lol, by the way, mate.
I noticed. I was hoping.
Steve, who's the tallest in the Burn squad? Check-in editor for us, please. Mr. Campbell suggesting you go 2 up top, but choosing to ignore that. And then he sent it again in capital letters, 2 up top.
I think the worrying thing is that the tallest person in the Burn squad is probably me.
A solid 4'9" frame.
The manager's the tallest guy at Burn. Yeah, that's a worry.
That's because you like to play that intricate little football.
It's all tiki-taka, and it gets us nowhere.
Macca is making a change, not tactical, personnel. Shevchenko off, Trezeguet on is the change. As it's the main event, we'll slow it down on 65. And Fulchester from the set piece score. It's Beckham from a free kick over 20 yards out. Makes it 2-0.
Who's taking his set pieces?
I'm guessing Beckham.
Oh, he scored it straight direct. Yeah, of course. Idiot.
Tato, you know my thoughts on height. That goal does seem to have woken Burn up a little bit, and they're trying to get back into this. Emerton tried to do a Beckham, not quite in the same category, and then a lot of time going by with nothing happening at all. Unfortunately for Ian, who has walked off screen to go and get his chair already. That's a very early call into injury time where still nothing happens, and the final whistle goes, and Fulchester run out 2-0 winners. You were very much in the game, Ian, but you're just sort of low confidence, out of form attacking side, just aren't scoring enough goals.
No, and I mean, I would be tempted to say we're just so bad, but I mean that would be doing Macca a discredit. His team are doing very, very well. He's got them really ticking, and anyone in and about the top of the league, sort of counting their chickens, at the moment, I'd be quite worried about Fulchester. They're without their best player tonight, and they've controlled that match from minute 1 to minute 90. Unfortunately for us.
Absolutely. Let's have a look at your squad first then as the hosts. Ashley Cole, Cannavaro, Emerton. They tried their best, but that unfortunately Robin continues to not do much. Brozek continues to not do much. Guerrero didn't come on and have any sort of impact.
No, we're not creating anything. Well, creating very little. Nothing's hitting the back of the net. It's difficult to know what to say. Brozek's had his chances. He's been dropped. He's come back in. He's been dropped. He's come back in. I do think Roy Keane was a massive miss tonight. I would have loved to have been able to go unchanged tonight with our best player of the season, but it was a huge loss for us. He's an 8 every single time, and he balances the team out lovely. But even then, we're clutching at straws. We've got world-class players who aren't performing, so I have to look at myself. I have to look at the team, and let's bring on the end of the season as fast as we can. But yeah, well done to Mac.
14 straight
well
shows,
done
yeah.
to Mac, though. I mean, Mac is doing a cracking job this season, and you know
well, every year I say Fulchester are going to win it because I think Macca is that good. He plays it down because he perhaps doesn't play his own home saves as much as some other people, and he perhaps doesn't pay as close attention to his team. But what he's done is he's got his core group of players. He knows exactly what they're doing. He's not tweaking it every week. So he knows if this person isn't available, that he's brought in this person specifically to do that job. And
he does, but you know what I would say about Macca is, and I would say I think fair play to him. I play a lot of Champ at home. I don't tweet about a lot of Champ. I play a hell of a lot of Champ. And if I had access to the golf courses that Macca has access to, I'd be playing a lot less Champ than I do now. I think he's got his balance spot on. Apart from he keeps churning the kids out, which obviously has an effect on the golf. You know, there's nothing you can do about that. So yeah, I don't blame him for that in the slightest. But yeah, it certainly doesn't have an effect on his Super League results.
Steve's put Macca better than Ryan. It'd be an interesting debate in the folklore of Fulchester and Bolton Phoenix as to who the GOAT manager is. So I've just thrown a little comment into the mix. Is that the same as Hodgie better than Fifey, but only one has actually earned a star?
You know what I'd say to that again, though? Like, Macca and Ryan, 2 great managers, but 2 great managers together isn't better than 1 great manager on his own. I mean, it was a great little experiment with a couple of friends and all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, you've got to look at some sort of compromise, and it just means that, you know, what the idea gets diluted, and now Macca's just back to having the idea, and it's not being diluted. That's all. That's it.
Oh, I've got to close the internet down before I can save that. Let's have a look at the classifieds. So we had Dudley Hill 0, Astor Athletic 0, Gazelles 4, Dragons 1, Haggis 2, Sloths 0, Leadersford and Bostock drew 1-1, Loco beat Halls 1-0, and we had 2-0 away wins for Fulchester and Churchtown at Northern Burn and Devils, respectively. I think you should have changed to 2 up top in that game, says the other Ian. That leaves the league table looking like this then. We have Haggis and Fulchester on 24 points in first and second, separated by goal difference only. Devils, despite their defeat, remain third, 4 points behind. They have a 3-point gap over defending champions Dudley Hill and former champions Locomotive Boston, both on 17. Then Churchtown in there on 16. Below the dotted line, Astor and Leadersford on 15. And then you've got Bostock 14, Dragons and Halls both on 13. Then the gap starts to appear. Gazelles up to 12th as of tonight on 11. You've got Sloths on 9. And then yourself remaining bottom on 4 points. We are approaching halfway stage, Ian. I suggested that this year there looked to be more of a gap than in previous years. I think if you look at the top, maybe the top 3 to further down, then that point is still there. But the fact that there's only 4 points between 4th and 11th, approaching the halfway stage says this is going to be another season where it goes to the very end, isn't it?
It's really, really interesting. Apart from we're not involved, I think you look at Haggis for a kick-off. Nobody seems to be able to stop them scoring goals. That's the issue. And Haggis' issue in the past has often been scoring goals. Now they've found the way to do that. They're very, very dangerous. I've just got on the wrong end of Fulchester there, who just look like they can turn any team over, home or away, any week, which is equally as dangerous. Third place is just a weird situation. I mean, that last 2 weeks for Devils has just been absolutely shocking, and you just don't know which way they're going to go. The quality of the squad, is that going to push them up? Is the current fact they can't create anything going to drag them down? I don't know. Dudley are going to have been looking at that and thinking, what if we just knuckled down and done what's got us where we've been? Would they be in a stronger position? Because those 3 or 4 sides chasing the Devils down are all in decent form. Asta's in decent form. And I think from 9th downwards, no one can string a run together.
No, I think that's very fair. You make the point on form there. I've just brought that up. Obviously, you would expect the teams in and around the top 6, but you're right. I mean, you look at Devils currently 4th on form, which means Leddersford, who are below them in the league, are above them on form. Churchtown, there or thereabouts. Loco, there or thereabouts. Dragons can't continue to have these missed opportunities. Bostock, who are always capable of putting a run together. If I'm looking at that as it stands now, and I appreciate there is a long way to go, based on what we've seen in recent weeks, and especially tonight, I'm thinking Devils are the most likely to drop out the top 6 currently.
It's just difficult, isn't it? Because you've always got that quality of player to drag you through. And I mean, I've had it in the past where, we might have been not in the best of form, but we've always had the names to bring us through. It's left us this season, but it's served us in the past. Mm-hmm. There's an argument for saying that the top 6 now, after 11 games, could even be the top 6 at the end of the season. But Asta, Leddersford will definitely have something to say about that. Bostock have had such hard luck and have done a cracking job, really, in the face of adversity. Mm-hmm. So, and being 2 points
Dragons
off, they could kick it on.
No, I completely agree. And then you look at it, Dragons and Hull's squads should be. I mean, who was it I think it was Churchtown you referred to before their game, and you said that Dimble might be disappointed not to be higher in the league. Dragons and Hulls have the squads capable of certainly being higher up the league. And I think it was Steve's put a few comments back in the chat. Sloth's up there on goals scored. So he scored 16, which is more than the 2 teams above him, obviously the team below him, but it's also more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then 5 teams above him in the league. So Sloths will certainly, especially with Hodgie in charge, if they don't make the top 6, because the gap is starting to grow already, they will certainly have a say. And a bit like what Maka was saying about Asta being a pain, basically being a pain in the arse to sides this season, I think Sloths between now and the end of the season will do that as well.
Maybe. It depends on which way Hodgie goes. If he sticks with that, trying to stop the opposition, I think he's going to take some pastings. I think if he gets back to trying to compete with the opposition toe-to-toe, I think he'll take points off teams. In the chasing pack, there's managers there that have all put good runs together and done good things in the league. So there is plenty of potential. I don't know. There's just 2 or 3 teams up there that are. You've got to start maybe to throw Churchtown in the mix, but Fulchester, Haggis, they look hard to beat. I say Dudley, if he can knuckle down and just start churning it out again, there's less hope for the inconsistent teams already, I think.
Well, before we conclude for the evening, let's have a look at Thursday's fixtures. And I believe, in case I misread something earlier, please correct me, but I believe we may be being joined on CoComs by your namesake, but with the extra I, current top of the table boss Ian may well be on co-coms on Thursday. I believe he said midweek was better for him. But we've got Churchtown against Halls. That could be a very good game. Dudley Hill against Dragons. Very banterful game. Haggis against Gazelles. Certainly an interesting game, that. Leddersford Sloths could be a tactical battle for the ages, potentially, if both managers really put it in. Loco Bostock, again, that could be a real chess match, that.
Yeah.
You've got Astor, which, again, looks winnable, but Astor, as we know, they're just a thorn in so many teams' sides. And then Devils Fulchester, well, third against second, but two teams in completely different bits of form at the moment.
That is a week that could shape the top two. I think you look at Devils there, they've had 2 shots on goal in 2 weeks. They are playing against Fulchester, who, along with Dudley, I think have historically been just about as good as it gets away from home. I hate playing Fulchester at home. I think they're mega strong. So if Fulchester were to get a result there, you're looking at Haggis as top of the league playing at home.
To a side that have just won 4-1.
Yeah, but I mean, even if Haggis Hunters drew that game and Fulchester won that game with the Devils, you're looking at a top 2 there that have almost pulled away ever so slightly, bearing in mind that I think Fulchester could be 3rd place Devils. I just think that might start to shape the top 2 a little bit. And yeah, my only hope now, languishing down there, is to take points off people who are competing for stuff, which is a bit shit, but we'll continue to strive. There'll be no mucking about. We were taking every game as though it was the most important game of the season, as always. I'll fancy it against Astor.
Ian has confirmed that he should be sound for comms and has said that's a cracking round of matches. I think he's right. It could be some excellent viewing on Thursday. And don't forget, this time next week, there'll be an announcement regarding any potential halfway transfer window as well. Ian, thank you very much, as always, for your time this evening. Thank you for stepping in so late as well. I very much do appreciate it. I know you've been keeping tabs, but there's been a fair few comments from the likes of Tato and Mr. Campbell saying how much they've enjoyed listening to you on CoComs tonight. Don't be a stranger. Please come on again soon. But thank you very much for taking time out of your Jubilee weekend to offer some excellent insight.
No problem, mate. Any weekend with the Super League comms involved is always welcome with me, mate.
Sorry you didn't get the result that you wanted, but again, cannot thank you enough for your time. Packs will be out tomorrow. Next round of fixtures with me and Mr. Campbell on Thursday. But from me and from the legend that is Ian Edwards at Super League HQ, thank you very much and good night.
Night, boys.